Welcome to this episode of Conspiracy Cast right here on Tales of Earth, the show where we three semi-experts talk about a conspiracy or two or three. And we basically just kind of determine what we think about them, whether we believe them, why we believe them, why we don't believe them. We have our, with us today, actually, I'm jumping ahead. Actually, I'm going to do this around.
I don't know what happened.
Our official devil's advocate here.
Oh, yes, that is me, Glorp Dan.
Glorp Dan.
Hello, Glorp.
Yes. And our official cynic.
Glorp Andy.
And our official optimist, who couldn't be here with us today. But I'm Gary. You can also find me on Film Circuit on YouTube and Film Circuit on Twitter and Instagram and Northward Films. So we do this live. I think I do this on purpose.
I thought I was the one without caffeine today.
Seriously. No, I think it's the caffeine. I think that's the problem. We do this live on twitch.tv/comicstorian every Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can support us by subscribing to the channel, both on Tales of Earth and following us here on Twitch. You can also support us by purchasing Tales of Earth merch on through the link below in our store. So, guys.
Yes, Gary.
On the link above.
No, I was pointing to the shirt.
Oh, the shirt.
Yeah.
I had to check the monitor because
It's our new one. It features a certain bearded Adonis riding upon a... Shut up, Dan.
I'm sorry.
Riding upon a rock slide boulder.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I feel my stress level go down just a little bit.
For you.
Yeah. When you do that.
It's
But then when you start talking normal, it goes back up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. So last week we talked about whether or not technology is listening to us.
Yes, we did.
And so this week we're going to talk about something that is completely unrelated.
Speeding off of last week.
I was wondering where he was going to go with that, but okay. What's completely unrelated from that, Gary?
But last week somebody did ask us if we could talk about World War III, and yes, we are. I must first exclaim that war itself is not something that should be like joked about necessarily. There are, you can have a sense of humor about life, but you shouldn't be like, yeah, I can't wait for World War III, or like, it is a very serious topic. So we're going to go into saying that, while we will still make jokes here.
Oh, we definitely will. We cannot control ourselves.
We can't do a show without making jokes.
That was, in fact, a joke. That's
okay. So yeah, war is not a joke, but obviously this is a very lighthearted show, so expect some humor. Firstly, I just want to say that it is actually kind of mind-boggling that we had a world war in the first place. That before World War One, nothing came even close to a world war.
Yeah. Right.
But with
that's why we called it that.
I know.
Okay.
Well, it was actually just a great war for a while.
That is true.
It was the Great War.
And then became the World War.
That's true, yeah.
Exactly. With the advent of more advanced travel, transportation methods, what else? What am I trying to think of? Aeronautics, the invention of aeronautics, the invention of the airplane. Basically, World War I was possible because we could get around the world faster.
Right.
Yeah. Before that, a world war hadn't happened because, it just wasn't physically feasible. It wasn't possible.
Right.
But with the advancement in technology in the early 20th century, that's honestly, I think, why we had World War I. And then we had another World War. And so I'm sure for a while it must have seemed like or felt like World War III was just right around the corner. So we had one, and then we had another.
I was saying because
another 20 years from now,
they're only a couple, 20, 30 years apart.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It wasn't even very long. Yeah.
No, and we were just expecting the next one. When's the next one? Is are we going to use the atom bomb? Just all over the place.
Instead we had a Cold War for the longest time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everything became, is this going to be the start of World War III?
Exactly. We still kind of live on that knife's edge.
We definitely do.
Absolutely.
Just because we know it is a possibility where it's like, what we may not think is going to cause it, it is a possibility, as history has shown.
Yep. Well, and that's kind of the struggle with, especially with nuclear weapons, is that if you disarm yourself, you leave yourself vulnerable to your enemies using nuclear weapons. But if you arm yourself, then some people see that as like escalation.
Everybody sees you as an enemy or a potential enemy.
Exactly. Yes. And so you live in this fear of nuclear war, but also this like almost this kind of weird confidence that mutual destruction is exactly what's keeping you safe. Yeah. It's like, well, if we launch, they'll launch, and they'll
right,
launch.
Exactly, yeah.
And so, but so before we move on, what we're going to talk about today really is what could cause World War III. What are some theories? Is it resources? Okay. Is it political? Is it AI? I mean, will it be Skynet? We don't know. So we'll take a look back at World War I.
Actually, no, that would be World War IV.
Skynet?
Skynet would be World War IV.
Because I feel like, and this is actually semi-serious to this conversation, I feel like World War III would be where we would start pushing that kind of technology in the sense of military use.
And then from there, it escalates
further and becomes World War IV.
Right.
That would be.
So you think we wouldn't even fully recover from World War III?
That's a completely different question altogether. More of just a World War III would facilitate humankind's desire to create such things to essentially go, hey, we know we're at war. We don't want too many casualties. We've got the technology. We can build it, make him stronger, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the war would end. People go off with that technology that reaches a point, and then that kind of turns on us.
With the advent of AI, and what if we do hit a point, and I'll get back on track here, but you just sparked a really interesting thought. What if we do start sending in robots? Like, who can build better robots? We'll send them to war. They'll fight each other. You know, our countries are just sending robots out, and then the robots with their advanced AI, if they have it, basically decide, you know what? We don't want to do this anymore. Right. Let's wipe out the people that are sending us to war with each other.
That's actually kind of what I would also imagine if it was robots created with an AI core.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Because at this point, we already do have drones and things like that. Yeah. But generally speaking, the intelligence in it is not to that level. It's to a level where I can go from point A to point B and blow stuff up.
It's specific.
Or someone is actually driving it.
It's operation-specific AI.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll have to go back and look at what caused World War I. So in short, the immediate cause of World War I that made the aforementioned items come into play, alliances, imperialism, militarism, nationalism, was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary.
Heard around the world.
Yes. When Russia began to mobilize due to its alliance with Serbia, Germany declared war on Russia, and then
it just kind of escalated from there.
World War II, among the causes of World War II, were to a greater extent the political takeover in 1933 of Germany by Adolf Hitler and his Nazi Party, and its aggressive foreign policy, and to a lesser extent Italian fascism in the 1920s and Japanese militarism preceding an invasion of China in the 1930s. Basically, the Allied forces stepped in to stop the hostile takeovers and human rights violations, and realized if we don't stop this escalation from Italy, Germany, Japan, it's going to engulf the world.
I'll say that was the problem. It was technically three superpowers, kind of combined forces.
Yep.
That became the Axis. Yeah. Blah blah blah. And then from there we had to go. Or not us, but like the rest.
We came in pretty late.
We did. That was because after World War I, America was like, we're good.
Yeah.
Right.
We got
an ocean between us.
We don't want to be involved in another
World
war. We're fine. And then Japan attacked us, and we were like, all right,
fine.
But there was a lot of people are just like, or a lot of people who think of World War II, they think of Hitler.
Yes.
Well, it was all because of Hitler. Realistically, it wasn't.
No.
Right. It was a combination of three different things.
By himself, Germany would have posed a threat.
Yes.
But nowhere near as much of a threat.
Exactly.
So now that we've summarized those are two fairly different causes for two different world wars.
Yes.
Now, ultimately, the struggle is still the same. Human rights, freedom.
Realistically, Hitler's takeover had a lot to do with what happened at the end of World War I. So it kind of fed into, it was obviously very different reasons. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. But what could cause World War III? Now, there are some statistics before we move on to that and what actually will cause World War III before anybody freaks out. Because if you only look at the negative side of things, you can very easily convince yourself that World War III is imminent. It's going to happen. It's going to happen next year.
People have been saying we're going to have World War III for the longest time.
Since World War II.
Yeah, realistically,
absolutely.
So it's like any little thing. But this is it. This is happening. We're doing it.
I was just talking to Dan earlier that there was some concern for a really long time that World War III would maybe fought over fresh water.
Yeah.
Water resources. So I tried to do some research on that. There hasn't been anything written on that in like 3 years. So that was a big concern a few years ago. Now it's probably something else. So before we move gas,
oil,
gas and oil.
And nowadays we're convinced that World War III will be fought over resources and not
I could see that.
like political struggles.
Yeah.
But
it'll be a combination.
I think so.
Sorry, I didn't mean to like jump in.
No.
And that's
it's a conversation. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
There are some statistics that state that the world is actually in better shape socially and economically than ever before. Despite what you would see on the news, if you watch the news, I try to stay away from it because I'd rather read articles than kind of get myself sucked into the fear mongering of modern news channels.
That's a different conspiracy altogether.
That repeat the same story for 4 hours.
Conspiracy.
No,
it's more like a fact.
Pretty awful. The world you live in is terrible. Here are all the reasons why. Also, buy this new insurance. I don't know.
That way, when the terrible things happen to you, you're all right. Yeah,
exactly.
Makes sense to me. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
So, there are some statistics that state that the world is actually getting better and that World War III may not be as much of a concern as we fear. These actually, I was looking at these. These are really interesting because some of these you wouldn't necessarily expect given, again, the news. And I'm going to, I've already sent this link to Dylan, so he's going to put the link to this article because it's like charts and graphs and things like that.
Right.
That if you guys are interested, you can check this out in the link below. So, economic progress. One, it's how many? 23 charts that basically state how the world is getting better.
Okay.
One, extreme poverty has fallen. This is probably the most important chart on this list. This comes from Vox. I'll keep my opinions about Vox to myself, but they do have some good information. The extraordinary rate of economic growth in India and China, as well as slower but still significant growth in other developing countries, has led to a huge decline in the share of the world population living on less than $1.90 a day. That's like it's like a world dollar value.
Yeah.
It's not just US dollars. From nearly 35% in 1987 to under 11% in 2013. So that's a huge decline in poverty. 2, hunger is falling. The map shows changes to the global hunger index, a measure of undernutrition calculated by International Food Policy Research Institute. Between 2000 and 2017, in countries marked red, hunger has increased. In countries marked orange or tan, it's decreased. And in countries marked green, it's decreased by 1/2 or more. So it's encouraging to see how much of the globe is orange, tan, or green. And especially encouraging that a few extremely populous countries like China and Brazil fall into the green category.
Yeah.
So hunger is falling, which is good news.
I assume white is no data?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no data on the U.S. or
on U.S., Canada, or Australia.
Yeah,
and
England and all
England,
and a lot of Europe.
Interesting
UK
how
countries.
They're leaving out those countries.
It looks like they're leaving out most of first world countries.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it's an analysis of developed or developing.
That makes sense.
Or not developed. Yeah, developing or underdeveloped countries. Number 3, child labor is on the decline. These are a lot, so I'm just going to plow through these.
Right.
Number 4, people in developed countries have more leisure time, which is always good for development. 5, the share of income spent on food has plummeted in the U.S. I don't know that that's necessarily a reflection of...
That does not mean anything unless you see a earnings chart with it.
Exactly.
Because I think there's a difference between overspending and not being able to spend.
Exactly. Yep. Health life expectancy is rising rapidly. Since the 1850s, you hit the early 20th century, and it just skyrockets.
You know what that is? Vaccines.
Yes, absolutely.
That's those markers are when like measles and all of those started getting vaccines.
Yeah.
Vaccinate your kids.
Absolutely. Number 7, child mortality is down. Number 8, death and childbirth is rarer. Number 9, people have been getting taller for centuries. That's positive, I guess. That's like,
you know what? We're not going to be at World War III. Everyone's taller.
Yeah.
Tall people don't want to fight wars. I don't know.
Tall people don't want to fight wars.
Yeah, tall people don't want to fight wars.
They've hit their head on too many.
That's what it is. Yeah, tanks are really a tight fit.
Yeah.
So the taller you are,
this is true.
the less likely you
Sorry, sir, I can't fight your war. I'm 7'2". More people have access. Whoa. Okay, just moved too much. Number 10. More people have access to malaria bed nets. So for those of you who may not know, malaria is carried by mosquitoes. Yep. And so when you cover your bed with a net, it protects you overnight because while you're sleeping, you can't really swat them away.
Yeah.
I have one over my bed now. We don't really have a mosquito problem, but I just like the way it looks.
11. Guinea worm is almost eradicated.
That one I don't know.
I was not aware of. Before this, I was not aware of guinea worm. 12. Teen births in the U.S. are down. I didn't know people are giving birth to teens. I'm just kidding. No, teen births.
And they're coming out taller.
Yeah, they're coming out taller.
That's why we're not going to be fighting wars.
Yeah. Well, I was just born 4 years ago, so teen births are down in the U.S. Smoking is down, actually quite a lot. I've noticed that's a positive trend. Peace and security. In the long term, homicide rates have fallen dramatically. That makes me
weird spike right there.
Sad.
What?
Right before the 1500s.
That makes you so sad?
Yes.
That homicide rates
I'm
are
sorry,
down?
No, Gary.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I think you need to clarify yourself.
Look, okay, if you see the
quick.
chart, you'll just see what I'm talking about. In the mid 1400s, there's a massive spike.
Well, wasn't that during
in Italy? I'd like. Yeah, I
feel like
There
there was
a spike in the 1800s.
Yeah, I wonder what that was.
People got bored. I don't know.
Also in
They weren't
Italy.
tall enough.
No, it's also in Italy. There were 2 major spikes in Italy. Huge spikes.
Mob?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. No, that's what made me sad. Not the decline.
Yeah, but you didn't say anything.
You were like, homicide rates are down. That makes me so sad.
In the short term, they're down in the U.S. too. That's positive. Number 16.
What? They're down in the U.S. too. Yippee.
62, Basil.
Violent crimes in the U.S. is going down. The U.S. violent crime rate per 100,000 people. So that's these charts are really interesting. It just makes me curious as to what is happening on these on
certain
this
spikes.
timeline. Yeah. Number 17. We've rapidly reduced the supply of nuclear weapons
That we know of.
Yep,
It's true.
Underground bunkers exist.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a world tally that they're keeping. How many nuclear weapons did you develop this year? Only 4.
Right. Yeah, but 2 went missing. So
Yeah, so
Isn't that happening in Injustice? Superman literally rounds up everyone's nukes and throws them into space.
He does.
Or is that
Superman
in the movie?
In the movie, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I knew it was Superman related.
Which will obviously prevent them from making more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what you do is you round up all the scientists, you throw them into space.
Then you're leaving a bunch of people who don't know anything about nukes with a bunch of nukes.
No, you take both.
Oh, you take both.
The nukes into space,
okay.
And then you get all the scientists, you throw them into space.
but different parts.
Different part. You don't
let them near
each other. Yeah, you don't want them near each other.
You don't want them near their
man.
nukes.
Yeah.
They know what to do.
Exactly.
This next statement is, it's positive. I think it's positive. I do, but it's positive depending on your worldview and which political system you prefer. 18. More people in the world live in a democracy now. Now, overall, mostly positive.
Yep.
Now there are some countries that claim to be democracies that really are not when you really look at how they're running things.
Yep.
19. More people are going to school for longer. Could be positive.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
I mean,
I
back
hated
then,
schools, so.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. The part where they start going up is after the draft ended.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. And this is, let's see here.
it's more time to go to school, essentially.
The biggest spike there is South Korea, actually. Has the most dramatic change in people going to school for longer.
Interesting.
20 and
Is that around the Korean War?
That's around the Korean War.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's why.
Yep. 20 literacy is predictably up as well.
What does that say?
Literacy. What?
All right, sorry, I'll let you go. I'll let you keep going.
Technology. Number 21, Moore's Law isn't quite over yet. No, actually, as soon as we, for those of you who are not familiar, Moore's Law basically states that every 2 years, processing power will double.
Yes.
Because of the size of transistors and we're just making things smaller and more compact. That's primarily why things are getting faster. Now, we are concerned that here in the next decade or so, we're going to hit a plateau because you can make transistors only so small.
Right.
You know,
that we know of now.
Right, that we know of now. But
They'll
that's why quantum computing is on the rise.
Yeah.
Because it's a totally different method, totally different system. And so Moore's Law could apply there. Instead of with the traditional computers. And then 22.
And that's Skynet.
And that's Skynet. Actually, yeah. Basically, what we've proven is that true AI is only possible with quantum computing.
Yeah.
So 22, access to the internet is increasing. Very positive. I was just watching a video about these young guys in Kenya, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Kenya, who have basically started their own little film company with like a green screen and a cell phone, a laptop,
That's
and
awesome.
some software. And they're actually getting like very popular or famous in Africa.
Right.
And like their version of Hollywood. So 23, solar energy is getting cheaper, a lot cheaper. Actually, that was a lot of people's concerns why people weren't switching to solar before. It's like, well, it's so expensive. Well, that's not really an excuse too much anymore. Installation maybe I think is the most expensive part.
Expensive,
yeah, but the actual solar panels and the method used is not. And that was the end of the list. So overall, things in general are getting better. Now, this does not cover things like people's moral compasses,
right?
Generally, you know, or like the strength of families, the strength of relationships.
These are more of the outside influences that could or could not influence the direction the world is going.
The big one in this list that I feel is a deterrence from World War III.
Taller people.
Excluding taller people, obviously.
Because it's better to be taller?
The internet. Access to the internet. Sure. Because of the fact that a lot of things in the past during the other world wars, news didn't travel as fast.
True.
Right.
Whereas nowadays, something happens, everyone knows within minutes and probably have like 16 different camera angles of someone doing it on their phone. And I think that's the biggest thing that will prevent another world war, because a lot of the things that like Germany did, for example, were kind of surprise attacks, surprise invasions. People weren't expecting it to happen. Whereas now you get like a couple military caravans in one place. You have things popping up on Twitter, Instagram, all over the place that everyone would be prepped and ready. That I feel like that is actually international security, essentially, because no matter what side you're on, that doesn't change the information that has now gone out, and you can't silence.
Well, I will say, after World War II, when we developed the UN and things like that, because America knew for the longest time that Germany was invading countries. Yeah. And we were still like, yeah, we're good. Like,
like their problem.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Kind of thing. But even when they were attacking like England, I mean, there were U.S. not service members, but people who like went to Canada to join the service there because they wanted to go over and fight. And America was like, nope.
Right.
We're good. We know what they're doing, but that's everybody else's problem. We don't want to get involved, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we did. Yes, initially, like the Blitzkrieg was a surprise.
Right.
But when the news actually like hit America, we were all just, we're all right. We just don't want to be in another world war. So I mean,
but see, that's the thing.
I see what you're saying, though. Yes,
exactly.
The world will instantly know if somebody does something.
Exactly. But like, for example, because we had that. Sorry, the cat was really loud. Yeah. Is she trapped inside something?
I don't think so.
She probably. We're gonna pause.
We're gonna pause.
Yeah, we're gonna check on the cat.
Like I said, I will admit, yes. Now with the joys of the internet, like if you do something, the world will know about it 5 minutes later.
Right.
But at that time period, people did know about it and were like, it's not really our issue.
That's the thing is,
well, communication technologies had improved a lot.
Right. But like that was also a different situation because personally, I feel it was a different situation because for the United States, I mean, this is a completely other one, it's like we're leaving ourselves undefended by sending people over. Like there were things,
that was the,
there were arguments behind the other ones, but like my point being, we did have the information, therefore the United States did have the ability to kind of gauge what should they do.
Right.
Well, but the countries that were affected immediately did not have that. Whereas with the internet, I feel like everyone would be in the place that the United States was, where it's like, we know what's happening. We know how to prepare for this. We know we know we have to decide which side we're going to be on or what we're going to do. But essentially, there's a lot more prep time, because it's also the argument of like the Cold War. Like there, you could get the information fast enough that it was the mutual destruction. It wasn't, oh, if they launch their nukes, we can't do anything. It was, if they launch, we launch, everyone dies. What is the problem. And I feel like that was actually the start to why the internet would be a big deterrent, because that was as communications were still on the rise, and we're even past that now.
Yeah.
That things have reached a point that the element of surprise is such a key factor when it comes to military operations, that without that factor, like you're less enticed to go, let's invade them. You know, like
nobody will notice. What are those kids over there with phones doing?
But like, you see what I'm saying? Kind of like that would be a big deterrent, because you would have to, if say a country did want to take over another country, it would have to be executed so well without that information getting out, and you don't know who's leaking information. You don't know who's capable of seeing these different things and stuff like that. Right. And I feel like that is a probably one of the charts from that website that I feel does have an impact, because other things in there, getting taller, not going to affect
no
World War
relation. I thought that was so silly.
I
agree.
Like there's a bunch of those in there that it's just like, it doesn't really factor in, but I felt like the internet access is a big factor.
Yes, it is. The whole getting taller thing, I think what they're saying is that nutrition is getting better.
Yeah.
So people are getting taller.
No, that's not.
You could have the genetic predisposition for being tall.
No, I can't.
But if you don't have, proper nutrition from a young age, you're going to be shorter.
Right. Yeah. Like me.
Yeah. So
they fed Ben.
Average. We're all average height.
That's what really happened.
He just got to the food.
He got to the food first.
Yeah. You're like a den of puppies.
Kind of. Yeah. A den of puppies.
I was the run to the litter.
The run to the litter. Like, oh no, let me. Oh, it's all gone. Oh, it's all gone. I guess I'll go drink Mountain Dew. So, I think a lot of those statistics also have to do with the fact that human rights organizations, aid groups, are now just being put together by citizens, by people who are just concerned with the state of the world. And they, you can get a tweet or you can receive like an email or something about something that's going on halfway around the world or on the other side of the world, and you can within months organize a team to go do something about it, and to go improve literacy, go improve living conditions for people pretty much anywhere. Yeah. So I think the number of NGOs in the world, I think is increasing all the time, because you more and more you have people who are equipped because of things like the internet, and just all around improved lifestyle, who can do these things. So yeah. All right. So the next question is, where could World War III start? This comes from the National Interest. What's that?
I said, you want like an address?
Sure. Yeah.
Give me a latitude, longitude.
This is my house. What is?
I agree, Gary.
Oh no. One theory is the South China Sea. That has actually been very contested for a while. So the South China Sea, SCS, has become wrapped into the growing trade clash between the United States and China. For now, that conflict is playing out in exchanges of heated rhetoric, tariffs, and various other trade sanctions. The United States and Canada recently escalated the conflict by arresting an executive of the Chinese technology firm Huawei, which led to the counter steps by China against Canadian citizens and U.S. firms. This was written in 2018, so still fairly new.
Okay.
As of yet, yet, the United States and China have not drawn a tight connection between the trade war and the ongoing disputes in the South China Sea. However, as relations between the two countries deteriorate, one or the other might decide to escalate beyond dollars, words, and legal filings. Indeed, if China and the United States concluded their trade relationship, which has provided the foundation of global economic growth for the last 2 decades, is at substantial risk, and similarly conclude that further conflict is inevitable, then either might decide to take off the gloves in the South China Sea. I certainly hope that...
you really need to stop with your pauses after certain things.
I certainly hope...
It might start at the South China Sea. I certainly hope.
No, and then he just stops.
I certainly hope that we never go to war with China. That is a terrifying thought.
Mm-hmm.
Considering they have...
going to war is a terrifying
one of the strongest, largest militaries in the world.
They do.
And their technology sector is gaining more and more influence.
I believe they have, or they did in the past, they had the strongest Air Force.
They might.
I believe.
I mean, it's a constant struggle between these superpowers.
I know we have the largest Navy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which honestly gives us a big advantage over most countries because how else do you get to America?
Yeah.
Through the ocean for most people.
I want to say, I know at one point they did. I don't know if they still do. But I want to say China has the largest Air Force.
Interesting.
I could be wrong, though.
I could be right.
And in terms of just sheer soldiers, they probably have a lot more of them than us. But I don't know.
Ukraine, Trump's tweets aside, or not tweets, text messages aside, the world remembered Ukraine when an incident at the passage into the Sea of Azov resulted in shots fired, a ramming, and the detention of 2 Ukrainian patrol vessels. Whether instigated by Russia or Ukraine, and both governments appear to have played some part, the interception reignited tensions in a crisis that has smoldered for the last couple of years. The declaration of martial law by the Ukrainian government suggested the possibility of unrest in Ukraine. To be sure, Russia seems to lack any interest in disrupting the status quo ahead of the Ukrainian elections, while the Ukrainian government continues. I feel like this is a little dated. At least the information they're giving right here.
Yes.
Basically, I mean, the Ukraine is still...
It's a very hot topic.
It is a very hot topic. It is a hotbed of political turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
Persian Gulf, the perpetual political and military crisis in the Middle East has settled into an uneasy tedium. Economic pressure on Iran continues to increase as the United States take over more aggressive steps to curtail trade. The Saudi war on Yemen shows no signs of abating, while the Syrian civil war has dialed down to a low, slow burn. Both the United States and Russia remain committed to their partners and proxies. And then it goes on to say, but like any slow burn, the conflict could reignite.
Yep.
There are lots of, I feel like there are just a lot of, how do I put it, hot plates in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, this area is just kind of, this area is
powder kegs.
Powder kegs.
I think would be a good way because it's,
yes.
You know what it is.
Right.
You know that there's danger around it, but people still handle that stuff.
Right. But then the question becomes, will something like let's say Ukraine turn into a world war, or is that a small war in that? Because I mean, there's still wars in the world
all over the place.
Yeah. There's Africa and everything. There's all these wars. Ukraine was there was conflict there. So the difference is, will this boil into a small local war,
or will it become
will it erupt into a world war?
I hate to say it, a lot of stuff like that isn't. It's not so much what happens there; it's everyone else.
Well, I mean, because that's really how other countries react.
Exactly, because a lot of the time, the world wars are essentially people going, "Hey, they're fighting. We don't believe in what they believe in, but we believe," because it's kind of like democracy, for example. America is so strongly believing in it that we have gone to other countries to essentially implement.
You need democracy.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Right. And that's the big thing that will cause the world wars, will be some sort of government style, and whether or not the rest of the world is willing to let that spread or let that be crushed, essentially.
Well, and realistically, it comes down to, like you said, the allies, but not even that, because let's say we're allied with let's say we are allied with Canada,
right?
Yeah. They're friends to us.
We are,
right? Yeah, I know. I'm just as shocked as anyone else.
Yeah.
Hi, Canada. No, I'm just teasing. But let's say someone goes to war with Canada. Let's say somebody invaded Canada.
Yeah.
Yes.
As their friends and allies and closest neighbors, we as a country would most likely provide some form of aid. Not necessarily troops, but it would be something. And if it boiled over even more, yes, we eventually probably would send troops.
Absolutely.
So then whoever is allies with whoever invaded Canada, if they see America stepping in, let's say it's Russia, just to say, Russia not. Then, well, so do I, but let's say hypothetically, Russia then would have to step in as well. Right. So that's how it if
they want to retain, if they want to retain their ally.
Exactly.
Plus, so, it's also the you gain an ally simply by proximity, because if someone invades Canada, whether or not
we would be afraid eventually if they won, they would have tried to.
If we don't help them squelch it now,
we're going to have to deal with a bigger issue in the future.
Exactly.
So that's basically what it boils down to. Because as allies, let's say it's a smaller country or somebody gets invaded, and we as America are like, oh yeah, we're with them. Right. You know, our thoughts and prayers are with them. We'll send over, some aids.
Well, let's not send them aids.
Not what I meant.
I feel like that would be mean.
Christ.
I think you misunderstood. Blankets. Yes, sir. I think you misunderstood my note.
We were actually hoping for vials of it. Anyway, I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if we're not physically stepping in, then it would most likely be a smaller local war. It would not develop. So, I mean, realistically, it's all a matter of escalation.
It is. Exactly. Yeah. It's all a matter of what other people are worried about.
Yeah. Right. Does that make any sense, or was I kind of rambling?
And it's mostly it's mostly what the world superpowers are concerned with.
Yes. Yeah.
That ultimately is what is going to escalate to World War III.
Yeah.
If, like you said, with Russia, if Ukraine entered a war with somebody else, like Hungary,
right? We probably wouldn't get involved,
right? Russia would be like, "Yeah, that's your
deal.
issue."
And,
but when Russia gets basically, if China gets involved, Russia gets involved. If some of these larger superpowers get involved,
that's when the others have to step
in.
Well, I hate to say it, it's more likely if America gets involved, what will the other superpowers do? Because a lot of things the United States will go and kind of push democracy on other people and think we're doing the right thing, and that's always up for debate depending on what side of the argument and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like providing aid so people can eat. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, that is a positive thing. Sending troops,
that's different.
That's a little bit of a mixed message, because it's like, okay, if you have good intent, why are you sending a couple thousand troops with you?
Right. Moving on. So, Korean Peninsula. It is undoubtedly correct that tensions on the Korean Peninsula have declined a great deal in the last year, as Kim Jong-un has demonstrated a degree of forbearance regarding nuclear and ballistic missile tests, and President Donald Trump has toned down his rhetoric about confronting North Korea. I don't know what you mean by toned down. And indeed,
it was a lot worse.
It was. They were like,
toned down might have been just to hear.
It is relatively speaking.
It's still a toned down.
The prospects of an enduring peace are surely brighter now than at any time since the mid 1900s or 1990s.
I was going to say, wow,
since the mid 1990s. That's still true even now. Since this was written in mid 2018, that is still true. Things are actually looking better and better for North and South Korea in terms of their relationship.
I mean, there was a few months there weren't they just trading insults? They were like, "You're stupid."
Pretty much.
Well, you're fat.
Everybody's texting now.
It's all about the tweet.
Are you logged in? Are you logged into our country's Twitter? Yeah. I've been tweeting America, and I've been
calling them a bunch of idiots.
I even sent them this GIF. It's from Supernatural. They watch that over there, right?
I
assume. We all love Sam and Dean, so that's positive.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. And yet, serious pitfalls remain. The president has staked his prestige on an agreement with North Korea, yet by most serious accounts, North Korea has not suspended or even slowed its production of nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. President, like anybody's surprised. Trump's advisors are aware of and unhappy about this fundamental contradiction. So then it kind of explains itself. So North and South Korea, primarily North Korea is our biggest concern. I know
South Korea is our ally, so yeah, no concern. What are they doing over there?
You never know. You never know.
Whatever you want us to do.
They're giving us K-pop, so
yeah, not cool, guys.
Hey,
not cool.
Hey, K-dramas, K anything, Korean. No. Hey, they gave us Baby Shark. Actually, no. They gave
not
us,
cool, guys.
They gave us. Cool. They didn't give us Baby Shark because that's an old song. They gave us their version of Baby Shark, which is what exploded.
I heard it one time.
I heard Gangnam Style.
I've heard Gangnam Style.
I'm so sick of that song by the end.
Anyway, sorry.
Yep. So unpredictable. As a colonel at the U.S. Army War College memorably phrased the problem, the United States has wrongly predicted every conflict since the Korean War. Why should we expect World War III will be any different?
That is true. Yeah, it's 100% true.
Mm-hmm. Why would World War III be in any way predictable?
No.
Like, oh, this is where it's going to happen. It happened in Canada?
Damn it.
What?
That one guy on that show.
That one guy
totally predicted it.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Oh, man. Canada's just been lying in wait.
See, my theory is Canada will eventually try to invade us.
Yeah, politely.
And no one will see it coming.
No, they won't. No. Hey, so, can I crash on your couch? Sure. Sure. Why not? Are you
Suddenly
like
the streets are lined with Mounties?
Yes, Mounties, and like, hey, look at that, a Mountie.
Oh my
God, that's so cool.
That's weird.
That would be our reaction.
That would be our reaction.
Yeah, like, oh, they're so nice. So that is 5 theories on where World War III could break out. Now,
yes,
we get into kind of the meat of the issue is what will cause necessarily, like what problems in the world will cause World War III. The first and most popular one, at least for a few years there, is water, fresh water. Fresh water makes up a very small fraction of all water on the planet. While nearly 70% of the world is covered by water, only 2.5% of it is fresh. The rest is saline and ocean-based. So our access to fresh, clean water is actually, it's dwindling, it's shrinking. I think the largest collection of clean water is in icebergs.
Yeah.
So... Yeah.
It's okay. We have bottled water. We'll be fine.
I feel like that one, I don't think that one's going to be the reason for the sake of technology. While, yes, only 2.5% is fresh, we've got the technology to make the other 70% fresh.
Well, that's one of the
or
concerns.
drinkable.
So right now the concern
fresh
is,
and drinkable are actually two different
is that
types of water.
The process for desalinization is expensive. It is complicated. And so that's one of the concerns. It's like, but at the same
that exactly. But at the same time, it's so was solar energy,
right? Exactly.
Like that's
I
the
think
thing
ultimately
there's a lot of stuff with that
ultimately,
one where
we'll fix the problem before it escalates to World War III.
Yes,
at least with water.
or at least some other problem.
Mid World War III.
Either that or some other problem will take over and finish.
We'll
us
forget about
then.
the fresh water.
Yeah. Until someone goes, I'm really thirsty. Anyone got some fresh water? Where'd it go?
Dan has some.
Get him like a bottle.
Get him. It's just Fiji.
It's just Fiji. That's your response to a mob attacking you over water.
Guys, it's just Fiji.
We all know it's tap water. Now give it to me. Other natural resources, oil, food, our basic human needs are usually reasons for conflict: food, water, shelter, clothing. How do you guys see those things turning into World War III?
I honestly, a lot of those I feel would not. I feel like the world as a whole has reached a point where those wouldn't spark a war,
right?
But more spark concern of how to fix these as the human race, as opposed to they've got food, get them kind of thing.
Yep.
Like I feel like everyone has reached the point that they are aware. If someone else has food and you don't, but everyone's struggling to get food, if you take that doesn't change the fact that there's not food.
Right, exactly.
And I think that's one of those ones that intellectually we have advanced to know that
we're not
fighting over something
a cheeseburger anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
they've got sandwiches. Get the rock.
Get the rock.
No, like an actual rock, not the actor. Sorry.
It's just like,
I don't know. The Rock would definitely be on my team.
I'm so tired of that. What if he's just like a terrible fighter? Like in reality, he's just awful.
Yeah, but you can stand behind him.
Yeah, you just hide.
And you're like
Rock, Dwayne Johnson, punch this guy. He's like,
I would laugh really hard actually.
What? I'm an actor.
Did not see that coming.
Okay. Well, stand in front of me then.
But yeah, I do agree with Dan though. I would say that at this point, we're not. It won't be like food alone.
Yeah.
Or water alone. I feel like mankind has evolved past that point where we're just like, I need water. I will smash you with stick until I get water.
Right. Now, let's say a country goes, hey, we've hoarded all the food and know how to get more. That's a completely different one. But if it's a simple, everyone doesn't have food, there's other things that people are...
Now, like, that could contribute... to some of the factors that may lead to a world war, but I don't think that in and of itself
between countries.
Yeah, but that in and of itself, I would say, would not be enough.
Plus, I mean, we're making a lot of headway in improving how we produce food.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We're just well past that.
Right. I mean, hey, we've made Impossible burgers that taste like meat, apparently.
Yep. Yeah. And it's only 80% chemicals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What if we run out of those chemicals? Oh no! Our Impossible burgers. War.
Oh no, I've got to eat fruit.
It was the great.
We'll call it the Impossible Burger War.
Yes. Who knew?
Oh my god.
Anyway,
you can't tell the difference. I mean,
for
normal
like, for example, there's something called vertical farming. Where you basically
they do that in Japan, don't they?
Probably. I mean, it's happening all over the place.
I know in Japan they have actually vertical forests.
Counterproductive
in Japan. Vertical forests so that they get fresh or better oxygen.
Right. So vertical farming is basically farming in warehouses.
Okay.
Where you basically you have these like shelves and you line it up with strawberries, fruits, vegetables, and everything. It actually uses 90% less water. Something around there. You don't use pesticides because it's controlled environments.
Right.
So the food you get out of it is actually really good, and they don't take anywhere near as long. And so vertical farming is actually starting to look like the future of farming. I mean, because you can do a lot. You can produce a lot more food with a lot less space
and a lot less reliance.
Yes, exactly.
Because you don't have to go, oh, I really hope it rains.
It was a bad season this year.
Exactly. And you're using less of everything.
Yeah.
Except maybe like storage space and things like that.
Yeah.
Vertical farming is potentially people are even working on food replication. Protein sequencing and printing pizza and things like that. So that's the future of our food, people.
3D printed a pizza.
3D printed a pizza.
Oh, I used the wrong ink.
It does not taste
It's all plastic. I misunderstood. Okay. So basically your conclusion with the natural resources and other natural resources is that it probably will be maybe a factor, but not the thing.
Not the thing that we find.
I feel like things like that fall under human race versus countries.
Yes.
Like I feel like there's a lot of stuff where it's at the end of the day, humans don't want to go extinct. And I feel like a lot of higher up people would recognize that and to some extent be like, okay, we need to actually figure something out with this as opposed to just, well, we want to be the ones that die last.
Right.
So we're going to take it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we have reached that point in society with communication through different countries and stuff like that.
Yep. Only 2 more to go here, and then we'll go to our final thoughts. Political systems has always been a major motivator for conflict. Could we be fighting for freedom all over the world? That is, in my mind, the question behind World War III. Like, will we hit a point where we are so regulated, where we have so many rules, so many laws telling us what we can and can't do, that we, the people, all over the world, will rise up and say, all right, we're done with this. Like, you've told me I can't do one more thing. Now, maybe this is 30, 40, 50, 100 years
I was going to say, I could see that happening situationally if there was, like, a global government. Like, the people as a whole wouldn't rise up against various countries. Right.
Mm-hmm.
How would you even organize that war?
You can't.
Like, hey,
Twitter.
Canada.
Hey,
what's up?
Canada?
Hey. I don't know why. It's just my go-to.
Oh, hey there.
Listen. Thursday we're gonna rise up. All right, we'll do it on our side. You do it on your side. We'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, and Canada will be there early.
Yeah, probably.
They'll bring donuts.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like this kind of thing is actually more of a It would be an individual country and whether or not other countries choose to intervene. China being the 100% perfect,
right now
that's everything that you just said, that's China.
That's China, yeah.
Like there are all the rules and stuff and strict, and they are trying to rise up to get democracy. And I feel like that won't start World War III, but let's say
the social credit system will.
Well, let's say like the United States goes, you're right, they should have democracy there. That's the start of World War III.
See, that's
because
possible.
that's when someone, and then that's when Russia goes, no, their government's fine. Why are you saying they have to have that?
Right.
Then you get everyone start going,
I'm
on that side.
I mean, realistically, that's what happened in Korea.
Exactly.
America was like, well, we side with these guys. And Russia was like, well, we side with these guys. Russia and China.
Yeah.
And then we all kind of clashed in the middle. So, I mean, yeah, I think like the people as a whole globally would rise up? No. But yes, like in a certain country, and then other countries would kind of dogpile on top of.
Right.
Because let's say, I mean, realistically, it would just, if the people who are rising up fell in line with your political views of your country, like obviously you're going to aid them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it helps you on a global scale.
Oh,
so
sure.
that's, I mean, that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But but I don't think like it'll be a giant militia.
Well, no, that's not the globe.
That's kind of how
that's not what I was saying. I just mean like
it sounded a little.
It could be like the people as a whole would rise up. Like what
it reminds me of is there's a line from one of my all-time favorite movies, Amazing Grace. It was about the abolition of the slave trade. This was also happening during the Revolutionary War and then the fight for freedom in France and all that. And one of the characters said, "The Americans pulled the cork out of the bottle. Now we share in the wine," and that's how I see the resistance.
So like, let's say if there was in one country, a resistance rose up, and then another country was like, "Hey, they have the right idea. Let's do it too."
Yeah, why not us? Too?
And then maybe we aided each other. I can see. I see what you're saying.
That's what I mean.
Then they meet in the middle.
Yeah, not like, so I got everyone on the phone. Are you all there?
It's a giant.
We discussed it at book club.
We discussed it at book club.
I was just in a conference, everybody in. I'm Skyping in with the other generals.
Yes.
But it's like a
teacher. No, I see it more as a kind of like a popcorn.
Kind of, I see what you're saying.
Bowl,
small conflict across the globe.
Exactly. And this does kind of lead into the rising concern over something called nationalism. Nationalism, which does get a bad reputation because, like anything, it can be twisted, it can be perverted. So one definition of nationalism is advocacy of or support for the political independence of a particular nation or people. Positive. Also, identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of other nations. I feel like that's just politics, but also kind of the bad side of nationalism. One of the arguments here...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, keep going.
One of the arguments here, the very popular argument is... while in the U.S. the term nationalism is seen as something negative, we see nationalism all over the world as something positive. So when you go to Japan for Japan. You go to Japan for the culture. You go to Japan for the people. And you want to keep Japan predominantly Japanese. Like it's a positive thing. It's a celebration of their culture. Why would we want to, dilute that? But then in somewhere like the United States, which has never really had a cohesive identity, people are
it's a melting pot.
I was going to say our identity is a melting pot. That is what
we also have people saying like, no, countries should be open to change and we shouldn't have just one identity. And so there's that like push-pull of who do we let in, who do we not let in? Should our country have a single identity? In terms of like culture and tradition, or should it not? Right now in Hungary, that's a big issue because the Hungarian government has actually started, at least a while ago, they were starting to turn people away from seeking asylum in Hungary because they were concerned that Hungary was going to lose its identity as Hungary. Like, are the Hungarian people no longer going to be Hungarian? Like, what is this becoming? If we're just letting everybody in? Then what happens? And so, which is a normal concern, but again, you have the other side is like, well, people need asylum, like people need help.
To me, nationalism is bad when it becomes the extreme.
Yeah. Exactly.
And
the extreme
and honestly, I feel that with anything, religion, nationalism, anything like that.
Yeah.
Patriotism, anything like that.
Yeah.
When you get to the extreme, when it becomes us or them, is when it is a bad thing.
We're right, they're wrong.
Right. Yeah. That is when it's a bad thing. Being proud of, your heritage, your history, that's good
and wanting to protect your culture.
Yeah, that's fine. But when it becomes like a violent protection, then you have an issue.
You do. Absolutely.
In my personal opinion.
Yep. Any thoughts on that?
No, I completely agree. It's the extremist thing, because that is why people tend to look at nationalism as a bad word, is because you always think in the extreme extent.
Right. Extremes. Yep.
Like
and generally the ones who voice it the loudest are the
extreme ones.
Yeah,
exactly. Because they're extremely loud. I don't know what that was. I was actually hoping Benny was back there.
That would have been funny. Yeah,
it would have been perfect. But no, I feel like that one, because it is a fine line of being, because a lot of people, when you are proud of who you are and what your nationalism or nationality, any of that is, like, a lot of people do sometimes look at that negatively nowadays. And that I could see potentially being a problem of people. I was actually going to say this on another one, is not so much these particular things, but I think miscommunication could be a huge, huge factor of someone does something for good reasons, could be good reasons, could be bad, but someone else misinterprets it.
Right.
Let's say, for example, we were worried militarily about some country or something, and you were to move military bases or machinery or whatever to certain locations. You may be doing it for the reason of, actually there's going to be a swarm of, I don't know, killer buffalo. Yes, it's an example. But
sounds frightening.
I know, right?
A swarm of killer buffalo.
Not even a herd.
Yeah,
a swarm.
Exactly.
Flying now.
But imagine that, but you're a different country. You don't know about that.
Sure.
You just see the military moving,
build up. Yeah.
And your initial gut reaction is to respond. That's what I could see causing World War III, is miscommunication from some regard. And that's actually why I think the access to the internet is a big deterrent to that, because
there might not be that misunderstanding.
Exactly. But you don't have that information, misunderstanding. You get in a huge argument, because we've all gotten into huge arguments with our friends or family.
Yeah,
and then you learn, we were talking about the exact same thing.
We were just communicating it differently.
Exactly. And that's what I think will be the most likely cause of World War III.
Okay. Some people also believe that the Illuminati are going to be the cause of World War III. That they're actually pulling all the strings.
Well, yeah.
And all of these things are just different strings that they're pulling.
Listen, we don't want a World War.
Yeah, I could see doing the opposite.
What?
I feel like if the Illuminati was pulling the strings, I feel like they would pull the strings to make sure war never, ever happened, because that's how you lose your position of power. They can't control the chaos of war to go, afterwards we're going to be fine.
I think we might be on the same point.
It's possible. Go ahead and we'll find out.
One argument is that they are that in control, and that everybody's just a pawn in their scheme. Just hear the argument, Dan.
No one's that in control, but okay.
I'm talking about somebody's theory.
I know, but I'm saying as my response.
Okay. One theory is that they are so in control that they are pulling the strings that they are going to cause World War III, which will tear the world apart. But they will be the ones to put it back together and to demand a one world government, and that they will essentially rise to power because they present themselves as the solution to the problem they caused. That's one theory out there. Now it has holes, but that's a very popular theory.
That's not where I was going to go with it.
Oh, okay. We're going to...
So I would say let's say there is an Illuminati out there. The reason they would want to start a world war is leaning slightly into that.
Okay.
Because if you look at after World War I, like, the map of the world was redrawn. So let's say the Illuminati wants to redraw the map. So cause a world war, cut everything up, put it back together as you so fit. Also from wars, generally speaking, historically, a lot of technological innovations come.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hypothetically, if the Illuminati is like, you know what, we've hit a stalemate, not really liking how that map is like there's one guy in the office like, you know what, guys, I'm not feeling it. Like,
I'm not feeling it.
I'm not feeling it.
Yeah.
What if we did some
Russia's so big.
Yeah, like let's just cut it up a little bit. Actually, I mean, Canada and U.S. are like right there. I don't know.
Russia's not as big as it looks. For the record, you should
right,
look at a
this
map
is-
that has
this
some
is my
proper
point.
size.
So I guess it kind of leans into yours. Like if they want a certain outcome, they could then start a war to push towards that outcome.
Right.
I mean, after World War II is when we had the UN, which, if you technically speaking, is sort of a one world-ish government.
Right.
You know, obviously it's
They have
all
some
different.
pull. They have a lot of pull.
They have a
Yeah.
lot of pull.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to do something similar, they would start a war for that purpose. And then after the war, you know, the war's ending. Like, oh, so we never have to do this again. What if we just get a one world government, right, guys? And then there's like a guy in a business suit. Hello. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so hypothetically,
I can see what you're
You
saying.
could use war to get to that purpose.
I can see what you're saying. I feel like war is too uncontrollable, unpredictable, and anything like that I feel like people who are in seats of power would not risk it. Because let's be honest, if they're already running the world, they're already running the world.
Right. I mean, but really, I'm just saying, realistically,
I do see what you guys are
war
saying.
is unpredictable,
Yes.
but it is also predictable in certain ways.
Right.
Yes,
If that makes any
Yes.
sense.
I mean, while I do agree,
Yeah.
at the same time, we literally just said the United States has been wrong in every single
Yes,
prediction.
exactly.
Well, every single
and
prediction.
I'm not saying it's the United
But
States
that's-
who's like, you know what we need,
Yeah.
guys.
But you see what I'm saying? Like, the predictability, while yes, there is some, it is not perfectly predictable. And I think people that are in that position of power, they have no reason to.
Yeah.
Because while
Well, I
we
can
think
imagine-
a global government, like a single global government, could be great, like we think that, but there are Illuminati members in different organizations that I can guarantee, if they are out there, not all of them think the same. Some of them would probably go, no, our world government would be communism. No, it would be democracy.
It would be
And so it's like, why break the status quo? And I feel like that would be the reason. I think now if something started pushing things towards that and it became much more of a, okay, it's going to happen, then I could see them potentially kind of doing like a controlled wildfire situation of, okay, let's try and curb this in the way we want. But I don't think that people in that sort of power would ever risk losing that power.
Right. And all these theories have holes in them. They all do. But no, yeah, I mean, it is very complicated, and war is unpredictable. And if they're already in power, like, why change anything? Wouldn't they benefit more from all the countries coming together in peace, in harmony? Or is the conflict in some way, these various conflicts, do they benefit them in some way? I could just imagine, I don't know. I had a joke. I'm not going to go there. Not a bad one. It's just long and winded, and we're over time.
All right.
So, final thoughts. Do you think World War III is imminent, or do you think it may never happen?
I think it's, I would always say it is possible.
It is possible.
I do not think it is imminent.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't sit here and go, oh yeah, next 20, 30 years, definitely going to happen. I believe anything is possible.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. Like, anything could happen. Anything couldn't happen. And I think that, but I do not believe at this current state we're at a position where we are actively worried.
No, I wouldn't say so.
No, not at all. And for all we know, when World War III, or if World War III does actually happen, it could be because of a country that doesn't even exist yet.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Or a country that wants to exist.
That wants to exist.
Because that's a large portion.
So,
yes, generally.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. We don't know.
United States.
We really don't know. It could be AI.
Could be.
We don't know.
Maybe the AI want their own nation.
I'll say that could be. See, we always, whenever we think world war, it means we think that the world as itself is fighting.
Right.
But we could, as a world, be fighting against something. Like it could be aliens, could be Skynet, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't necessarily mean
people from the Hollow Earth.
The people from the Hollow Earth, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Giant turtles.
Giant
turtles.
swarms of man-eating buffalo.
Yeah. They're dangerous, okay?
That's terrifying.
We've gone over the edge now.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, everyone is like, oh, World War III is going to be superpowers fighting each other. Not necessily.
Yeah,
but
it could look totally different.
Yeah.
Zombies.
So zombies. Yeah, because of the Impossible Burger.
Yep.
Don't try it.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here.
Don't try the Impossible Burger. That's what you
heard. Zombies are because of the Impossible Burger. That's our next episode. No,
I would love that. Yeah. That would be so funny.
Here, Dan, eat this Impossible Burger.
But we shackle him to the chair first. Just
it's like, guys,
to be
what's happening?
safe.
Just try it. All right. Thank you for watching this episode of Conspiracy Cast right here on Tales of Earth. Again, you can find
Glorp Dan at Dan T Producer on Twitter and Instagram, and Dan T Streamer on Twitch.
And I'm Glorp Andy. You can find me at For I Am the Andy.
And you can find me on YouTube at Film Circuit, Twitter at Film Circuit, and Instagram at Northward Films. Again, thank you for watching this. We'll put the links to these articles below. Don't forget to check out our merch store as well, where you can get this shirt right over here.
That bearded Adonis.
Yes, that's what we're calling it.
Yeah.
Okay. And other shirts. We'll display them later.
And like this one.
Oh, yes, and the I Love the Illuminati shirt. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and always be sending us ideas for the kinds of topics we can cover. So, yes, thank you.
Glorp, everybody.
Nice. Nice. That was
awesome. I feel late now. Glorp, everybody. Oh.